What's up, everyone? Welcome to What's in the Box Score, Episode 7. Uh, I am Rick Weiner. I'm joined, as always, by my esteemed co-host, the box score in What's in the Box Score, Mr. Mark Rowlands. Mark, how are you?
I have never been called esteemed before in my entire life.
It was a mistake. I'll never do it again.
And I was going to say I don't deserve it. Um, but thank you for pumping my tires very early in this episode of the show.
No problem. So, for a baseball season that doesn't exist, uh, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, there is.
News is breaking all over the place. I mean, let's get the most important and probably most useless info out of the way first. Major League Baseball and the Players Union are going to meet again on Monday. It's their second meeting since December 2nd. Some would say that the real pace of play issue in baseball is this. What do you think? Is there any reason for optimism? Because to me, it's just like, all right, Players Union's going to show up with a proposal. Others are going to be like, great, okay. And then 6 weeks later, they'll get around to coming back with the same proposal they had last week.
Yeah, it's one of those things. There is really no reason to be optimistic about this because the owners came with their harebrained, stupid ideas last week. And now on Monday, the players are going to be like, all right, so yeah, DH in the National League, that's great. What if we add a second, like a 10th spot in the lineup and there's a second DH? Like, it's going to be shit like that. Like, it's just going to be ridiculous stuff that will never get done and no one cares about. And, they might implement, start asking for, slow pitch softball rules. It's like, all right, we get one free pinch runner an inning.
At this point, just put a T at home plate,
and
that's it.
Yeah,
everyone hits off a tee. No, we don't need pitchers anymore.
Our pitchers, you see, they're getting hurt too often. These guys, they're getting hurt too often. We want to help save their arms, so we're going to underhand. All right, and not like fast pitch softball. We're not, gonna wind up and stuff. We're talking coach pitch, just a little toss.
Yeah, you can't put a spin on it.
Yeah, L screen in front. We don't want any line drives coming back at our guys. If it goes off the L screen, foul ball, dead ball. So don't have to worry about that. Yeah, there's no optimism here. It's going to be at least another month until they figure this out.
Yeah, agreed. It seems like much ado about nothing at this point. Along the lines of things that could possibly change, they shouldn't change. But robot umpires. We said last week we kind of celebrated the fact that the Atlantic League was like, nope, we're done. Well, now everyone in AAA is going to get robot umpires, and baseball is hiring people to operate the system in 12 places, which is weird.
Yeah, so what I saw about this is it's not going to be everywhere.
So it's just, okay, I was wondering if it was just going to be in these spots.
So yeah, it's... where was it? There it is. Major League Baseball will be operating the automated ball and strike system in select spring training venues in Florida, AAA West. So there's they don't have the Pacific Coast League and the International League anymore. It's just AAA and then the division you're in.
Okay, that makes sense because I'm looking at the list and Albuquerque, Charlotte, El Paso, Vegas, Oklahoma City, Reno, Round Rock, Sacramento, Salt Lake, Sugar Land, and Tacoma. So, it's all in the West.
And the Low A Southeast.
Okay.
So they'll be doing it across 2 minor league levels and in spring training, which the fact it's going to spring training is where I'm like, wait a minute. They're going to put major league players up against this? Like guys that are in the big leagues right now, they're going to be like, yeah, here's your robo-ump. What if they, this is what I'm interested to see. What if there is an egregious call? The ball bounces in front of the plate and then bounces through the strike zone and it gets called a strike.
Yeah, who are you going to argue with?
Who are you going to argue with?
I guess you could just stand there looking like a lunatic screaming at just the catcher.
which I would do. Like I'd like walk over to the censor and be like, you did this. This is your fault.
You lay on the ground and you're yelling at the camera that's buried in the dirt at home plate.
Yeah, like it's just like there's it's interesting that they're going to be doing it in spring training. Like I said last week, I'm fine with the idea of robot umps if we get it to 100% accuracy, not 99%, not 97%. I don't care how close it is to perfect. Unless it's perfect, I don't want it because then I feel it's not necessary.
I agree 100%. Like at that point, aside from like Angel Hernandez and a few other guys that shouldn't be umps, like there's no difference. So why get rid of the human element?
It's one of those like during the playoffs this year, like ump scorecards on Twitter is a phenomenal Twitter follow. If you don't follow them, like just seeing exactly what the umpires got right and wrong, and like they do like the worst calls and the best calls, like stuff like that. And it's a great follow. But like during the playoffs, there was a lot of that because obviously the umpiring during the playoffs this past season was A, atrocious, and B, came under fire from a lot of people, especially like I remember during the Red Sox Astros series, it was awful. The entire series, both ways. I'm not saying there was a bias, but it was just atrocious umpiring. But the worst guys are like 88%. Like they still get most of the calls right, like at a very high clip, but it's like, oh man, they couldn't even get 90% of the calls right. But your average guys are around 90%, your best guys are around 95%. So if you're telling me we can go from 95 to 96 by switching to a robot ump, then no, I don't care. I like keep the guys until we can get this absolutely perfect. Where it, like I said, it can change the size of the zone depending on who's up to the plate. Because if Altuve and Aaron Judge have the same strike zone, then that's a big problem.
Right. Absolutely. And here's my other question, and this just pops into my head, and I know it sounds insane, but like, where does it end? Let's say we go with robot umps. What's stopping them from being like, you know what? Giancarlo Stanton is great, but he strikes out 200 times a year. That's no fun. We need robot players now. and you laugh, and it's insane, but is it really? What are the owners at that point? What do the owners need the players for?
I don't put anything past the man that you dubbed the Clown Prince of Baseball.
Well, because he is, and I'm just saying, like, if this is all about money,
yeah,
okay, you don't have to split the money with anyone.
It's funny because I'm not gonna say I could see it happening, but Rob Manfred is that big of a moron, so it wouldn't surprise me if he tried.
Like, look, the Jetsons could be real. Like, not the flying car thing. We're never getting that. But like, there was robot baseball in the Jetsons, I believe.
I believe there was, yeah. It's one of the. I remember Bill James a few years ago, who obviously Bill James such a massive influence on the way baseball is, not only played today but managed and how general managers are. Also known for his terrible takes and not being a very good person on Twitter.
Right. Yeah.
I think he wrote like an entire article about how if you replace everybody in Major League Baseball, it wouldn't matter. Like if you take Mike Trout and replace him with your garbage man and do that to like every player in baseball, it wouldn't matter because the level of competition would be the same. Like, these guys are super high level athletes and these guys are super low level athletes. So you won't get huge discrepancies in competition.
Yeah, see, I think he's wrong with that.
Oh, he is absolutely wrong because who the hell is going to watch a bunch of people who've never played baseball in their life play for a Major League Baseball team?
You don't know that because the garbage man could have been a star baseball player in high school.
That's true.
And he just never played in college.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that he doesn't know how to play, but he could be going up a guy who was like a soccer goalie and never picked up a baseball bat and is completely lost with what's going on. So the competition level would be more slanted than otherwise because teams would go out looking like, hey, did you ever play baseball? Then come play for us.
Mm-hmm.
And other teams will be like, you. standing in the corner over there. Come on over.
See, the part that scares me about that is just by enough trickling down between people that don't want to do. At some point, I'm going to get that contract offer because it's like, yeah, I played, I played my entire life. I got 6 varsity at bats and I got 1 hit, and they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, at least you know how to play the game. It's like, yeah, I guess, but
I mean, well, shit. I guess there's hope for me then, because I averaged 5 yards a carry in high school. So
there you go.
when the Giants finally screw up Saquon Barkley and let him go, I
Oh,
guess I'll be getting a phone call.
The time for finally is well past. That
Yeah,
guy's done.
yeah. Well, that's because he blew out his knee, but the Giants
Yeah.
screwed him up anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's still plenty of baseball to talk about. Where do we go? Do we go? I guess we go to Montreal and Tampa, because I know you have a strong opinion on the fact that this was even a thing. Major League Baseball has squashed Stuart Sternberg's dreams of splitting the Tampa Bay Rays between Tampa Bay, Florida, and Montreal, Canada.
I can't believe this was an actual idea that Major League Baseball was considering. This just goes to show, like, just the logistics of it, right? It's like, okay, we've got this terrible ballpark in St. Petersburg. I was going to say in Tampa Bay, but it's not in Tampa Bay. It's in St. Petersburg.
Yeah, but terrible ballpark.
Terrible ballpark. And then there's this. I mean, how old is the Big O? Because they'd be playing at the O again, would they not? Like, they'd be playing at Olympic Stadium.
They'd have to be until they built a new stadium. I mean,
which I doubt they would, because this is a franchise with no money, because they have like 30 fans and only 10 of them go to the games. Like,
yeah, that's true. I mean, the Rays, I don't know when the last time the Rays averaged over 10,000 fans a game was. They averaged like 9,400 last year.
Yeah, I doubt it was ever. And this is a team that is always in the playoffs, at least since 2008 when they made the World Series, since they've been the Rays, not going back to the Devil Rays days, but since they've been just the Rays, they're always in the playoffs. They're always competing for the American League East. They've been to 2 World Series. Like, this is a really good franchise, and it's well run, and they've had superstar caliber players come through there. And it's like, what is there's a disconnect here. And I've seen a lot of people talking about it, and I never even really thought about it like this. They're in St. Petersburg, which is about 35 minutes of highway driving outside of Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, the Tampa Bay Lightning, which is a hockey team, doesn't seem to have a problem getting fans because they're in Tampa Bay. The Buccaneers don't have a problem getting fans because they're in Tampa Bay. No one wants to drive the extra 40 minutes outside of the city when Tampa's already a pain in the ass place to get to go to a Rays game.
Right. No,
how about this? Move it into Tampa Bay with the other Tampa Bay teams.
That makes too much sense.
But
it can't happen. It makes too much sense.
You have the easiest option in the world. Just move 45 minutes in one direction. But no, they decide, what if we split half of our games between Tampa and Montreal? What are you going to call them?
The Rexpos?
Yeah, like, just the naming logistics alone.
No.
Are they the Montreal Expos half the season and Tampa Bay Rays the other half?
No, they're the X-Rays. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's the $1 million.
But even just like thinking of the hat, does it have like TB/M on it, and you've got like the Rays like TB logo with the classic Expos M on it? Like, it's none of it makes sense.
No, none of it made sense. Olympic Stadium opened 46 years ago. So you're
46
talking about,
years old.
Yeah, the stadium's older than I am.
And like, I know they recently renovated it because they wanted to start doing things there again.
Mm-hmm.
It was also a piece of shit.
Yeah,
the Big O also sucked.
Yeah, it's terrible. So, Sternberg's not wrong, because he came out and he said, I'm disappointed, and we're going to continue to explore things in Tampa Bay, but Montreal deserves baseball.
Absolutely.
He's not wrong in that respect.
No, I want the Expos back, but that was not the way to do it.
No, that's just an insane way to try and do this. It really, literally makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm with you. Like, aside from just the obvious, like you said, like how does any of it work? You know, you play half a season here, half a season there, and especially with all the other crap going on, like, what if somebody gets sick? Like, are they stuck there and they have to miss the second half of the season in Tampa?
Yeah, exactly. What if
You know?
Canada decides to close the borders again?
Yeah,
What are
because
you gonna do?
like people just wake up one morning and they're like, nope, we're closed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, what if you're in? Yeah, what if you're in Montreal for a homestand, and then they
The
close
last
the borders?
homestand. Yeah.
Like, okay, so the X-Rays only played 48 games this season, and they don't qualify for the playoffs.
Yeah, they only played an 81 game season. We don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, and like I said, just the merchandising and like just thinking of that, none of it would look good. It would all look terrible.
Yeah, but how many you've seen them? We've all seen them. The guys that show up at the games and they've got my favorite player used to play for my team, but now they play for the other team. So
those people shouldn't be allowed in a stadium.
No, I agree, but they've got the half and half jerseys.
It's those people and the people who have like the half Yankees, half Mets hat.
Yeah, well, same thing. I mean,
yeah, but like those people, if I wasn't like a ticket person or an usher working at a stadium and I saw someone wearing that, I'd be like, either go change and come back, take it all off, or just get the hell out because you're not allowed in my stadium.
Yeah, you have three options. I would not take it all off. Nobody wants to see that. But change the shirt, go to the gift shop and buy a shirt.
Yeah.
Or go home. That's it. And this big security guy over my right shoulder, he's gonna make sure that you do one of the three.
It's a shit show. The entire situation was a shit show, and I couldn't believe it was an actual thing being considered. Because the first time I heard the idea for the proposal, and I was like, that'll never, get any traction. Who cares? Like, that's just some, it's just his harebrained idea that no one's gonna care about. It made it this far. It's been like 2 years.
Yeah, no, I remember we talked about this on the Man-Child show at one point.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's absolutely insane that it has lasted as long as it has. Speaking of shitholes, Oakland has gotten approval on some environmental report that's going to allow them to proceed to investigate the possibility of possibly doing something at this harbor thing. Is there any point to Oakland even trying to do this? Because the Raiders left. The Warriors were like, oh, we just built a whole shiny new toy in San Fran. Bye. Like, why just leave? Go to Montreal.
The fact that because Oakland, it's Oakland County, I believe. Oakland has its own county.
Yeah, I believe so.
Because it was called the Oakland County Coliseum.
Oakland Alameda County Coliseum.
Oh, okay.
Don't forget the hyphen.
Listen, that stadium's had 38 different names, and they're all variation on Coliseum.
And they have an upper deck because Al Davis bought it.
Yeah. It's amazing to me that the people, either the county legislature, whoever it is that makes these makes these financial decisions, don't care about sports in Oakland.
No, they don't care about getting paid.
But you have a town like Oakland, and it's not the richest town in the world. It's very much like it's a Buffalo style city. A lot of blue collar people, a lot of hardworking people. And what do they love? They love sports. The Raiders have one of the biggest and best fan bases in sports. Like, everywhere you go, you see people wearing Raiders stuff. Partially because they have one of the best color combinations and logos in sports.
Yeah, but black and gold with pirate, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But the Warriors, even they were a joke for years. It was Wilt Chamberlain and then it was the We Believe Warriors in 2007. In between then, they were a joke.
Yep.
They still had a lot of fans because Oakland cares about sports. The A's have been there since the 60s. They have 6 World Series titles in Oakland. They have a ravenous fan base. When the Coliseum hosts a playoff game, it's one of the best playoff atmospheres in baseball. Like, especially
100%.
when they, like, those 2012, 2013 teams with, like, Josh Reddick and Sonny Gray and Brendan Moss and Nick Sogard. Everyone was wearing, like, the big glasses in
God, Eric
in the
Sogard,
stadium.
wow.
The nerd power signs, like people were wearing wrestling stuff because they knew Josh Reddick was a fan of wrestling.
Right.
Like it was just this awesome atmosphere. And I want the A's to stay in Oakland. I do. I wanted the Raiders to stay in Oakland. I wanted the Warriors to stay in Oakland. Let these people have their sports teams. You know what Buffalo would be if they didn't have the Bills? Nothing. Like when there was talk recently about the Bills moving, and the people were like, what the fuck are you doing? If
Yeah,
you take away my football team, I'm leaving. Buffalo's population would cut in half if the Bills left.
you mean the
Like,
Sabres aren't as big a draw as they were hoping?
Sabres fans are crazy too.
Oh,
I
I
know a
know they
lot of
are.
Sabres fans.
No,
Like,
I know they are.
but the Bills are obviously the big draw, but it's like, I just can't believe that they don't try their hardest to keep these teams in Oakland.
Yeah, I don't get it. And like the fact that this is just like another step in a process that has never ended, and this is something that's been going on for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
Like at some point, does the owners just have to be like, no. Like either tell us we can build a stadium here and we can start building it tomorrow, or we're leaving. Like there has to be a resolution to this, and there's just no end in sight. It seems insane to me that this is still a thing. It's more what's more insane, that Oakland is still doing this, or that the Montreal Tampa Bay thing wasn't dead upon arrival when it left Stuart Sternberg's mouth.
Oh, Montreal Tampa Bay. That's one of the craziest things I've ever heard. Like
I think it's a lot closer than people would think. For me, anyway. Well, this is pretty insane that it's been 20 plus years and they still don't have approval to build a stadium.
Yeah, and that place, like you said, I think the Coliseum's a really cool stadium. I think it's a really cool looking stadium. Like, the back, like the third deck and stuff in the outfield, I think is really cool looking. And I know it's like, oh, they're never going to sell those seats, but it's just, it adds a cool, like, sort of signature feel to the stadium. I've always like sort of liked the look of the Coliseum. Yeah, it's a shithole. Like, quite literally, they had shit flooding the dugouts because of a plumbing problem. Like,
the dugouts flood whenever it rains. Like, that's just a thing. Like, if it rains, the dugouts are going to flood.
But it happened like a pipe broke from like coming from the bathroom, and they had like shit water. Yeah, in the dugout. And it's like, what? How do they not have at least the money to renovate the stadium? Like, just, if you're going to do anything, at least make it a little nicer.
Yeah, I mean, and as I get what you're saying about the look of the stadium, but having a baseball team playing a football stadium, which is what the Coliseum really is, it just doesn't work. It's never gonna feel like a baseball stadium. They're never gonna get 80,000, 100,000 people into that stadium.
No.
Yeah, and after the Davis deck was built, like I don't know what the capacity is, but whenever I watch an Oakland game, it's just like, really? That's like, it's not a bad team. Like, what are you people? Where are you people?
They're like the Rays.
And it's like, wait, there's actually 24,000 people there, but they're so spread out.
Yeah.
It looks like there's 5 people.
I also, as a fan, I would enjoy that though, because I don't like being next to people. Like when I'm at a sporting event, I like to have a seat buffer on either side of me.
Oh, for sure. I love, like, find me an empty row and just I'll put a buffer between me and whoever I'm with, and that's it. Like, I don't need to be around people.
So as an Oakland fan, I'm probably like, no, keep the Coliseum. This is great. I don't have to be next to anybody. This is fantastic.
Yeah, but I mean, I do need enough people so like the noise is muffled. So when I scream something I shouldn't have screamed at, like the lunatic center fielder,
They might not be able to point you out.
They won't be able to hear me. They won't be able to tell security. Like, he said a bad thing. He used a bad word.
And Ramon Laureano comes back. People are.
I'm talking like the George Carlin 7 words you can't say on television.
Yeah.
What are those 7 words?
Yeah, Ramon Laureano comes back, and it's just like, you fucking cheating asshole. Like,
hey, Ramon, you on the juice? You want some juice? And he climbs over center field fence and murders me. He goes all Ron Artest on me. Like that would be bad. That would be very bad. I don't know if this is bad. I don't know if it's good.
Okay.
Correa and Boris together.
Boo.
Is this good for baseball? Bad for baseball? Doesn't matter to baseball, but it's great for Correa. Like, to me, I mean, the fact that he wasn't with Boris already was kind of surprising.
Shocking. I would have bet $1 million that Scott Boras was Carlos Correa's
I legitimately assume every big name in baseball is a Boris client. I don't even bother checking. And then they were like, oh, wait, no, he was with William Morris, and now he's with Boris. He was, what? He wasn't, how was he not with Boris all along?
Yeah. I don't think it's good or bad for baseball. Like, I think Boris has been around long enough. We know exactly what Scott Boras does, where it's just like, oh, man, there's another one. But these are two people that I don't like. It's just...
Okay, let me rephrase the question, because that was a stupid way of asking it. Does this ensure that Correa is going to beat Corey Seager's deal?
I still don't think it does.
Okay.
I think that Seager there's more positive, like, attention around Seager. Just,
people don't have a feeling about Seager. People love or hate Correa.
Yeah,
Seager's just like, people are like, yeah.
And also he's Kyle Seager's brother. It's like, who hates Kyle Seager? Nobody. Kyle Seager was like one of those guys, and it's like, oh, Corey's probably one of those guys too.
Like, A's fans might hate Kyle Seager because he probably tortured him throughout his career.
Definitely.
But like, aside from that, like, nobody actually hates the person. Like, he just seems like a good dude.
And Correa, like, I think he's going to struggle to get that huge payday just because of the scandal. I think a lot of teams are sort of questioning just how legit this guy is. Fair or not, I'm not saying that it is fair,
right?
But I think there's going to be some GMs like, how do I know what I'm getting from you? Like, how do I know that you're going to earn this money when your best numbers were put up when you knew exactly what pitch was coming half the time? Like, I think there's going to be questions about that in his free agency. I think there's going to be just questions about his character, the way he carries himself. I mean, I personally think the guy's a prick. He's a jerk to the media. He comes off as super cocky. Like, he just, I don't really like the way he carries himself. And I think there might be some questions about that. Like, if I'm going to give this guy an absolute mega deal, is this how I want my franchise represented?
No, I mean, that's all fair. I agree with you. I don't necessarily like Correa as far as I think he's just real. I think he's over the top arrogant for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a turnoff. It was interesting. You said, if you were a GM, you'd be wondering about, are his numbers real? Because of the scandal. I just looked at his home and away splits for his career are pretty much identical.
Oh, are they really?
I'm shocked. At home, 278 with an 847 OPS. On the road, 275 with an 827 OPS.
Oh, okay, then.
So that at least makes me feel a little bit better if I'm a GM, saying, all right, maybe, it was an outlier that he had a better year that year than he normally would, but he's still a solid ball player.
Okay. I didn't
with you,
realize
though.
that.
I think he and everyone who didn't sign is going to struggle
Yeah,
for a
and
number
that's
of
part of it too.
especially because we don't know exactly how this is going to play out.
Mm-hmm.
And even if teams do raise the luxury to, even if they agree, like, all right, we're going to raise it to from to 280 million or 300 million or whatever, luxury tax threshold. Like, just because the owners can spend that much doesn't mean they're going to.
No.
And like, what better way to punish the players? Because the owners are going to spin this and be like, this is all the players' fault. They left us no choice. We had to lock them out.
Yeah.
Like, what better way to punish them than to take the guys that don't have a contract and be like, yeah, last year we would have given you 350 million, Carlos, but we could do like 180, maybe 200 this time. And look, I mean, we're still talking hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, I don't feel bad for any of these.
He will never struggle.
Like none of these guys should ever hurt for money or want anything. But at the same time, like, it's gonna get nasty. This when I'm gonna stay positive. When baseball resumes and business is back to normal, it's gonna get ugly because I think the mudslinging is gonna start all over again.
Yeah, it's interesting because I personally believe these owners have been colluding for a while when it comes to free agent signings.
Oh, for sure.
Like the whole Bryce Harper thing and these guys not signing, contracts until February. It's like, come on, really? You're telling me that these guys weren't talking to each other and being like, no, let's hold out until these guys want less money?
Like, so I think that's also a Boris thing.
Well,
I think because Boris influences the agents on the other side.
That's true, and Harper was a Boris client. But I think it's also like it's the sort of who balks first sort of thing.
It's game of chicken for sure.
Yeah, it's
just
a
exactly
huge
what we're
game of
dealing
chicken
with right now.
Yeah, and God, so much of baseball can be boiled down to a game of chicken. That's not good.
A lot of life can be boiled down to a game of chicken if you think
That's
about
fair.
it.
So yeah, I completely agree. When I think baseball comes back, I do think that owners are going to be like, yeah, man, we weren't getting any revenue. Like, this off season, we weren't able to like sell tickets or anything, which I'm getting emails from like the Red Sox ticket office. And I'm like, stop it.
Oh yeah. I got every team must be on the same calendar because I got one from the Yankees and I'm just like, what?
We don't know if there's going to be a season.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not buying tickets for a season that don't even know is going to happen or when it's going to start. Like, get out of here. Like, if I want to go to a game, which is iffy at this point, like, I'll get a ticket. I'll find a way to get a ticket the day of the game. Unless they're playing the Mets or the Red Sox, where I'm going to have to pay $500 for an upper deck seat, I can get a ticket.
Yeah, I'll just see them play the Royals in July and just like, I feel like going to the game today. Like,
a couple months ago, I went through, like, I'm weird. Like, I've collected all my tickets.
Oh, I've got them all back there.
Like, I've got like a cup that we got for graduating elementary school, and like I've just tossed all my ticket stubs in there. The Royals are the team I've seen the Yankees face the most. Yeah, and that's not by design. It's just like, the Royals are playing. I can get really good seats for cheap. Okay, I'm gonna go see the Yankees play the Royals.
Yeah, it's funny because I have a coffee mug directly behind me. It's like a Norman Rockwell like baseball paintings coffee mug. And I've got all my ticket stubs in there except my stubs from when I saw the Sox play the Yankees at Fenway. I've got those like on display. But yeah, it's just I've got baseball tickets, movie tickets, concert tickets, SU basketball. Like, it's just everything.
I've got wristbands in mine. I'm like, I have a wristband? What the hell is this from? But it's stop marketing to people when your sport is not open for business.
Yep.
It's really not that difficult of a concept.
Especially when everyone is mad at you.
Yeah, like even the
Everyone hates you
media,
right now.
even the media, which usually just kisses everyone's ass,
Mm-hmm.
is like, you guys are gonna fuck this up, and you really can't afford to.
Yeah.
Like, you need to get this shit right. You need to get it right quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's never been the case.
But yeah, I just don't think Correa is going to get that huge Corey Seager, Bryce Harper mega deal anymore. I just don't see it happening.
Neither do I. But it's going to be interesting to see how Boris plays it, because you've got the Yankees who need a shortstop. You've got the Dodgers who need to replace Seager, I
Mm-hmm.
suppose. Although, I mean, there's plenty of talent on that team and in that system where
Yeah.
they could certainly fill it from within. And even if there's a drop down offensively and it's more of a defensive stay the course or upgrade a little bit, I mean, that team is so stacked it's not going to make a difference. And plus, they still have to replace Scherzer. Like, they got and
Mm-hmm.
they still have to re-sign Kershaw. The Dodgers have a lot of work to do once things start up again. Like, it's
Yeah.
just hitting me like they lost two huge pieces of that team.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Kershaw's a no-brainer. Like, he's not going anywhere else.
I'm shocked he didn't resign before the lockout.
Yeah, so am I.
That
Although,
worries me a bit.
to be fair, I would like to believe, and I'm not, this is just my gut feeling and not what I've been told,
Mm-hmm.
that Kershaw's like, look, I'm not going anywhere. I know you have to replace Max.
Yeah.
I know you have to replace Corey. Like, fill those spots, and then we'll talk when you're done. We'll see how much it cost you, see how
Mm-hmm.
much I'm going to cost to wear, because he's not crazy. Like, he still wants to win another ring. So
Yeah.
he's gonna be like, I don't need a max contract.
No.
Like, I need a number that makes me okay, feel good, but still gives you wiggle room to make improvements if we need to.
And it's interesting with him because I'm still hearing rumblings that it's like he might just pull a Koufax and like just be
I'd
like,
be I'd be cool with that.
I absolutely would. Like, Clayton Kershaw is the best pitcher I've ever seen. Like, just Jacob deGrom is very quickly approaching in terms of peak. But I mean, we're talking about a guy with a 2.4 career ERA. 2.4. It's like this guy is on the short list for the best left-handed and starting pitchers in baseball history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And why not? You're coming off relatively fresh off of a World Series victory. You made the playoffs again this year. You're a 3-time Cy Young winner, MVP winner. Like, you have the lowest starter ERA in modern baseball history.
Yeah, like, you have nothing to prove.
There is nothing left to prove. And he's what, 33?
He just finished his age 33 season. He'll be 34 in March.
Okay, so, and you know that your best stuff is behind you, which he's coming off a season. What was his ERA? 3.1?
3.55.
Oh, 3.5. Wow, it was higher than I thought.
Yeah, but he still had a whip of 1.01.
Yeah, because he's Clayton Kershaw and he's just that good.
Yeah.
But I really wouldn't be surprised or opposed to him just being like, yeah, I'm just gonna hang him up, boys. It was a great run. He'll go. It's when you think of Dodgers pitchers, it's him and Koufax, right? Those are the two that immediately pop to mind.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's where the conversation starts.
Yeah.
Is Koufax, Kershaw, and then
Drysdale, Don Newcomb.
Yeah, like the guys,
Like,
the guys from the Brooklyn days, for sure. You have to factor in there, but they're not Kershaw and they're not Koufax.
Oh, for sure.
I never got to see Koufax. My dad was a huge Dodgers fan, and I mean, from what he told me about Koufax, it's like
it's otherworldly.
He's on a different level than everyone.
That's like my dad and Bob Gibson. Like, when my dad talks about Bob Gibson, he's like, no, listen, boy, I was 11 years old in '68. I remember it very well.
Yeah, my dad was like, you don't understand. He's like, I can't explain to you how good he was.
Yeah.
he's like, even if you watched it, you can't understand it. You had
Mm-hmm.
to be there
Yeah.
to see how fucking filthy he was. I mean, and he was filthy, and Kershaw is a filthy, filthy pitcher. What else did we want to cover? There was something, I just saw something that I wanted to bring up, and now I'm blocking on it. What the hell was it? Damn it, Mark.
I'm already drawing a blank. Before every episode, we go over what we want to talk about,
Oh yeah,
and
I have
then
a
we
running
always
list.
forget.
I have a running list from the time we finish an episode until
Mm-hmm.
the time, like it's open on my computer, and like as I see stuff, I'm just like, oh, we got to hit on this. Oh, I
Yep.
want to talk about this. Oh, I think something about this, and now it's just like there's one thing left on my list, and it's not really a big thing, but there was something else that, and it's great podcast stuff right here, Rick.
It,
Awesome fucking job keeping the people entertained. So you know what? We're just gonna go with this last thing on my list because I don't remember the other thing. For the Mets fans listening, we have
oh
the
yeah.
return of Edgardo Alfonso to the New York tri-state area. He is taking over as manager for the Staten Island Ferry Hawks, who used to be the Staten Island Yankees before Major League Baseball decided to drop a nuke on the minor league system. They're going to play in the Atlantic League, which means that one of their rivals, or perhaps their chief rival, will be the Long Island Ducks, managed by Wally Backman. Here's my question, and I'm not a Mets fan, so I can't answer it.
Mm-hmm.
Which former Met is more beloved, Edgardo Alfonso or Wally Backman? Because I feel like whichever one of those the Mets fans cheer for or prefer is going to be the team that they throw their support behind.
I would say just based on Mets fans like I've interacted with and the Mets fans I see on social media, I would say probably Edgardo. Um, Wally Backman obviously is a very much a fan favorite and, beloved, but I still see a ton of talk about like Edgardo Alfonso being guys like favorite player of all time.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
And
I think there's some recency bias in there, though, right?
yeah, and there has to be. Like, it's just a lot of people talking about like, man, remember this guy was so good, and he was pretty. Like, Edgardo was
Edgardo
pretty.
Alfonso was a hell of a player. Like
Yeah, he was a really solid
he
player.
really didn't get enough credit. Like he was a very, very good baseball player.
But it's interesting because like I'm also not a Mets fan, but I interact with a lot of Mets fans, and like I follow a lot of them on social media, which is funny at times and just insufferable at times. Just like following any like fan of any sports team, but yeah, I would say probably Alfonso right now, which is interesting. I didn't realize he only played 8 years for the Mets. If you would have asked me, I would have said he played probably 12 or 13. Um,
It's funny. I would have said less. I figured he played like 5 years for the Mets. It felt like
oh
he
really?
was like just he was in, he was there, and then he was gone. Wow,
Yeah,
yeah, 8 years. That's longer than I would have thought.
but yeah, I mean, he had a couple of 25 home run seasons. He drove in 100 1 year, career 284 hitter. Like this guy's a really good player, and I think people still love him enough where they will flock to those games. I think Mets fans are going to be frequenting games in Long Island
Yeah, and in Staten Island for sure. I only thing I would say is
or Staten Island. Yeah.
this is probably going to be like a generation gap because I think people that grew up with the '86 Mets, like they're going to flock to Backman.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what their feelings towards Alfonso are, they're just going to be like '86. It's Wally. No, it's '86. Like you can't.
Hmm.
It's '86. That's it. So I think it would be more of a generational divide. But I tend to agree with you for all the reasons that you said. I think, if push came to shove, it would be Alfonso would win, in a popularity contest. But it's fun that they're both back in New York.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I might actually, assuming that we're allowed to um, go to, when Staten Island is visiting
Hmm.
the Ducks. I might go to a game.
It's funny. I love watching baseball that isn't played at the highest level. Like, I don't even mean like minor league ball, but like I've never been to an independent game, but even like these like adult men's leagues, like just
Okay.
watching these guys play, it's so much fun. I remember my dad and I were in Cooperstown a few years ago, and they have like men's leagues that play double day. Like they schedule a trip up to double day, and they have a bunch of leagues that play there over the summer.
Right.
And there was just a men's league game going on. One team, they were the like some form of Long Island Yankees. There were a bunch of Long Island guys, and they had like Yankee jerseys on. Um, and they were all probably 45 to 65 years old,
Okay.
just older, fun-loving baseball guys. And the other team, where they didn't have like a major league team affiliation or anything like that, they just had red jerseys on, like plain red jerseys. Uh, they were like fresh out of college, like, very clearly played organized baseball recently. The old guys whooped their ass. It was
Oh,
hilarious.
I don't doubt it, because the old guys didn't care. They were just there to have fun.
It was like 15-2. It was unbelievable. My dad and I are sitting there. We watched a good 6 innings of this game.
Oh,
And
wow.
these guys, they're just slapping singles over everybody's head. Guys are never going more than one base. It's just small ball like you read about. And they just destroyed him. It was hilarious. One of the guys on the younger men's team was so pissed off. He was like, "These old fuckers are kicking the shit out of us." Like he's screaming in the dugout. It was hilarious.
Oh,
It's
God.
like, the old guys are just out there having fun. I think one of them had like a Miller Lite in his hand in the dugout. They're just like, "Yeah,
Oh,
this is great."
a couple of years ago, a bunch of guys I went to college with, they started their own, softball team, the Stonecutters from
Okay.
The Simpsons.
Yep.
So we all had uniforms and whatever. Like we had them made up like Stonecutters uniforms.
Hmm.
And I played one game because I had to fill in, because the catcher, uh, whose name will be redacted for
Okay.
someone to protect him, since I'm still friends with him, Porky, sorry, but he took his bat and went home.
Okay.
So they were like, "We need a catcher, Rick, you
He
catch it."
just up and left.
Yeah, he was just like, "Okay, bye." Took his bat and went home.
What the
So I was
hell?
like, "We need a catcher." I was like, "You don't want me to catch." "We need a catcher." I'm like, "You really don't want me to catch?"
Hmm.
I'm like, "I don't." I'm like, "Just because I cover baseball doesn't mean I can play baseball."
Yeah.
I'm like, "This is like a proven fact for a long, long time ago that Rick does not play baseball very well." And it was as worse than it possibly could imagine. It was a disaster. Uh, but it was fun.
It's a
And
blast.
I sat in the dugout after they yelled at me for the 8th time and just kept drinking, because we had a cooler of beers in the dugout.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
like, we didn't care about winning. We were just there like, we're actually exercising. Woo!
I play in a city rec league over the summer, just me and a bunch of my buddies from high school. Most of us played baseball. We're terrible. It's amazing how a bunch of high school baseball players can be such terrible slow pitch softball players. Um, but in a city rec league, you're like not allowed to have beer because we play in city parks.
Well, we weren't
Um,
allowed to have the beer. It didn't stop us from
yeah,
having the beer. We were in a public park. Like, it wasn't,
yeah,
like,
but
you're not allowed to have it.
and there's a couple umpires that are like, "All right, guys, come on, like let's keep it to either between games or before and after. Let's just not do it during the game." And there's a couple umpires that are like, "That Bud Light?" We're like, "Yeah." It's like, "Yeah, toss me one." Like,
Oh yeah,
it's
I mean, the one game that I played in, the ump was, he gave us a hard time, and it was like something out of Major League. We just started yelling back at him. It's like,
yeah,
"What are you doing?
exactly.
Get out of here!" Yeah, it's like,
We're
what
just having
you do?
fun.
You gonna throw us out of this recreational softball league? Like, do you really think? Does it look like we care?
Hmm.
Like, we're sitting in the dugout drinking while the other team is warming up.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
do you really think we care if you like you have to stop or you can't play? Like, okay, well just go home.
I
Like, not a big deal.
I did just see something that I wanted to bring up.
Okay, because I can't
Um,
find the other thing I wanted to talk about.
so recently the international signing period started, and a lot of international free agents are signing with teams.
Yes, yes.
And this isn't about that.
Okay.
This is about the worst international free agent signing I've ever seen, and that's Ruizny Castillo, who was signed by the Red Sox for 6 years and $72 million. And then it turns out he was actually 2 years older than he said he was, and he was supposed to be like this speedster, and he stole 7 bases in 99 career games with the Red Sox. He just signed a minor league deal with the Nationals. What?
Why?
This guy's still he was in Japan last year and he had 235 in Japan. This guy is bad. He is
I
a
mean,
bad baseball player.
a minor league deal. Um, there's no risk, obviously,
No, there's no
but
risk,
he's
but I
not
just
a
can't
good
believe.
baseball player.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's 34 now. He just came off a bad season in Japan. Why are teams even wasting a minor league roster spot on this guy? He
yeah,
was he was outrighted to AAA by the Red Sox just so his ridiculous salary, dropped off the 40-man roster, just so his ridiculous salary wouldn't be held against them by the luxury tax.
right.
After 3 years into a 6-year deal, they were like, yeah, this isn't going to work, and just decided to pay him to not play for them.
I wonder. It just thought just crossed my mind. Like, I wonder if guys like him specifically, because some of the guys that have signed minor league contracts still have some gas left in the tank,
Hmm.
and they have a legitimate shot of maybe not making the opening day roster, but certainly
Yeah,
contributing at some point during the season. I wonder if a guy like him, teams are like, you know what, we really have no idea how this is going to go, and if we wind up having to play like with
yeah.
replacement players, there's a guy that we could possibly be like, hey, we got him.
Hmm.
Like if he's willing to play, like he's 34, he's not looking for his next big contract. Probably doesn't really care about the negotiations one way or the other. Like I can't imagine that a guy like him would be like, you know what, I'm going to stand with the union and we're not playing. Like
Yeah.
I could see him being like, I don't give a shit. Like this is my last shot at playing Major League Baseball. I'm playing baseball. I don't care. But
It,
I
that
fa- go ahead.
it's just I remember when that signing happened and everyone was hyping this guy up, and I was like, yeah, maybe this guy, I was hearing Ricky Henderson comparisons to this guy. It was like he's got 20 home run power. He's gonna steal a ton of bases. Like I said, he played 99 games. He slashed 262, 301, 379, good for an 82 OPS plus, and hit 7 home runs and stole 7 bases when he was also caught 5 times.
Yeah, I mean,
Just talk about a dud.
if anything, this just proves that it's not just the homegrown prospects that are overhyped. It's
Yeah.
the international guys are equally as overhyped
Oh yeah.
because nobody's the next Ricky Henderson. Like
You.
Yoenis Cespedes wasn't as good as he was supposed to be. Dice K was certainly not who he was supposed to be. Kei Gawa was not a
Oh.
pitcher. I don't know what he was, but he was awful. Hideki Irabu, rest in
Hmm.
peace. He was terrible, and he was supposed to be, this next big superstar, and then one of the best names in baseball history. Uh, Two, actually, speaking of the Nationals, very quickly, Coco Crisp, great name. He's with the Nationals as a coach now, I
Yes, I
believe in the
saw
minor
that.
leagues. But Kosuke Fukudome,
Oh, yeah, Fukudome. Yeah, that
great
guy
name.
was
Love that name.
Cubs,
But
right?
he was a $48 million waste of money.
Didn't he win Rookie of the Year?
I believe he did, but he's
Yeah,
not a good base. He did
yeah.
not. He wasn't very good.
Um,
Um, like it, there's a bigger risk with these guys than I think people realize, especially when they have to pay out tens of millions of dollars to sign these guys.
I mean, seriously, if you look at the the hit rate, obviously there's guys like Otani, Ichiro. Jose Abreu ended up being a fucking bargain for the White Sox. That guy's tremendous. Like, so there are some, but even the one, like, the relative hits we see now, like, Yohan Moncada's solid.
Yeah,
he was Robinson Cano. They said he was Robinson Cano, except he could run.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the guy we talked about last week, Jurickson Profar.
Yeah,
like,
Jurickson
he was supposed to be the next great thing, and he's had a nice career, but he's nothing special.
Yeah, and like that's a hit for the international signing thing.
Right.
Like, obviously you've got, Ichiro's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and
Yeah, but
I think
Ichiro's different. Ichiro's different because Ichiro was what, 27 by the time he came over.
Yeah, he was 27.
Yeah, and he had already established himself as one of the greatest players in Japanese history.
Same with Abreu. It was like he was 27, I think, when he got signed, and it was like, yeah, this guy's just Cuban Babe Ruth right now. So we're gonna bring him over here. Turns out, yeah, 35 home runs, 120 RBIs every single year.
Yeah, but I mean, you got 16-year-olds getting millions of dollars. Like, it's tough to live up to this for a lot of these guys. But it's last thing, I did find what it was, because last week we talked about John Lester retiring. This week, Francisco Liriano retired.
Yep.
And Liriano certainly did not have the career that Lester had. He was more of a lightning bolt that was electric and then blew out his arm and was never quite the same, but still worth mentioning and worth congratulating on a nice career. I don't know if he's the kind of guy that wants to stick around the game or if he's just going to disappear. But the last time he pitched in the majors, I mean, he wasn't bad.
No, he really sort of towards the end there started to transform himself into a reliable reliever. Like, he's not going to be a closer or anything, but just a solid middle relief guy. That last year with the Pirates, he went 5-3 with a 3.47 in 70 innings. He struck out 63 guys. Like, nothing spectacular, but certainly solid. And yeah, solid career. He had a couple of years with the Pirates there, when they were a good team, where he went, let's see, 3 years with the Pirates, 2013 to 15. He went 35-25 with a 3.26 ERA and 510 innings, averaged more than a strikeout an inning. Like, this guy had a nice little resurgence there with the Pirates after blowing out his arm. And like you said, in 2006, when he was first coming up with the Twins, this guy was electric. The stuff was unbelievable. He's throwing 98 miles an hour. He's got this wicked breaking ball, great changeup. Like, he was the next Johan Santana. They had Johan Santana and Johan Santana Jr. in the same rotation.
Yep, and they were both young and both still getting to their primes. And injuries wound up killing them both.
That Johan one kills me, man. Because I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm a big Johan for the Hall of Fame guy because his best 6 years, we're talking like 2.8 ERA and 230 strikeouts a year. We're talking a dominant 6 years.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, and we talked about this on the Hall of Fame episode. Like, for me, I'm skewed because Don Mattingly's career was, with the exception of the final year, I mean, he was arguably one of the best. Like, his peak was as high as any peak.
Well, yeah, and I think he should be in too.
Right, but he's not. And so for me, like, guys that are just like, well, yeah, but their peaks were so fire, and it wasn't just like a 1 year thing like Liriano. Yeah, it was like this was a 5, 6, 7 year kind of thing. Like, I just can't. I can never put my support behind them being a Hall of Famer because. I mean, until the Mattingly thing is resolved, which it won't be, like, I just can't get there on these guys, and it's not fair, but it is what it is. So deal with it. I'm the guy who had the Mattingly shrine growing up in the corner of his room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm the guy whose most valued possession, which I continue to leave at my parents' house because it's safer there than here, because I will lose it here, is a game-used signed Mattingly batting glove.
Mm-hmm.
That I will grab at some point and wear on the show, just because it makes me feel like Don Mattingly.
I only have one piece of game-worn memorabilia, and it's a Syracuse Chiefs jersey signed by then center fielder Yuri Perez, who
Nice.
um, who was the subject of the greatest heckle I've ever heard. It was during a national spring training game, and the heckle wasn't directed at Perez. It was directed at the pitcher because Yuri was like a really fast guy, and Yuri Perez was on first base, and this guy in the crowd at like a 10 o'clock spring training game, just like, no one's there, just yelled at the pitcher after he threw over twice, "Don't even bother throwing over again. You know he's fucking going." And then he immediately stole the base. It was perfect.
That's great. That's fantastic. And honestly, I don't think we can top that.
It's one of the best tackles I've ever heard.
Yeah, I mean that might be the best the way to end this.
I agree.
That's that. Wow, the fact that the pitcher listened is amazing.
He didn't throw over. He stole the base. He was safe by a mile. Like,
look, and I remember Yuri Perez for some reason, like at least the name. I mean,
he went up and down for a little bit.
Yeah, I think he had a cup of coffee in the big leagues, but he was one of those like speedy dudes. Like you got on base, and it's like, all right, he's gone. Like that's all he can do is he can get a single through through the hole and then run for his life.
Yeah, couldn't hit a lick, but he played a mean center field, and he'd steal a bag for you. That was it.
Okay, so he was basically Coco Crisp.
Yeah,
minus the power.
Yeah, Coco had a little bit of pop in the bat.
He had 20 home runs a couple times. But yeah, so another episode in the books.
Indeed, it is.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for episode 7 of What's in the Box Score. I am Rick Wiener. You can follow me on Twitter, Rick Wiener NY. That is Mark Rollins. Marker box?
Yes, marker underscore box.
See, because I just type in MA and it comes up. So
yeah, exactly.
I don't pay. It's like the phone. Like you're just like, oh, I want to call my sister. You start typing her name in, and it's just like, oh, here's like you don't think of the number. You just like give me the name, and it auto populates. Thank you, auto populate for ruining everything. And of course, we are the podcast. I believe is the podcast because I sure as heck am blocking on it.
Box underscore score underscore pod.
Thank you. I knew that there were underscores. I wasn't sure where.
Yeah.
Thank you for everyone for listening. Thank you, Boy Green, for being Boy Green.
Yep. Thanks. Shout out Sports War Radio. We once again did it at the very end of the episode.
But we still got it in. So can't yell at us for that one this week. Everyone take care, and we will see you again next week for episode 8.
Peace. I hit the stop recording button. Is it going to stop recording? Let's see.
It says you're still recording.
I just hit it again. Oh, no.
You just erase it all?
No, it's not stopping.
Oh, all right. Well, what if should we just close down?
I guess.
Right.
This part I'm not going to cut out. This is a hilarious way to end the episode.
All right. Well, yeah. Okay. We're topping the thing we said we weren't going to top.
Yep.
I'm going to click the end call button, and hopefully this doesn't explode. So,
bye.
Good luck, everyone.